Welcome to the still life oil painting time lapse. Here you can see I'm painting a yellow apple, and as usual I start out on this canvas that is covered with the first 2 layers or 3 layers maybe even of gesso. I also create some textures in the gesso to give it more paintedness from the start. As you can see, I start with I actually use the dark parts of the canvas as a startup shadow, and I start with these light areas, and then I fill in here. As you can see, I use a lot of bluish in this because this apple is standing on a surface, a glass surface, and I can see the reflection in the glass. As I go along here, I just try to go in with more detail and form it more and more. Basically clay-like. I think always I say this in every video because I want people to be very aware of it. You don't paint your paintings, you build your paintings, or that is basically what I do. I fill in more and more. I go over it and over it. As you can see, the bluish and yellowish, and I just keep on piling on, going over it. Also in the original video, as you can see, there was some flashes here of some gesso stuff and stuff. And I in the main video, which you will find in description and after this video, there's a lot of chapters so you can jump around and learn how I do the different things. Anyway, I just put on some retouche varnish, and I probably did a glaze with I think it's French ultramarine and alzarine I use, or craplac I use to glaze. First I put on this layer with retouche varnish, and then I put over it a layer of glaze with that tone. And I do that to get more, basically more, get the textures, and so I can see the textures better when I do layer number 2. And then here you can see I start doing more and more darkening and trying to find the right hues. The problem with this apple was, as I was going along, I painted it for a very long time and it became more and more yellow. Then I went on a vacation at my parents for about 14 days or 3 weeks almost. When I came back, it was just totally yellow, and I just had to drop it and start all over again. And that is what you will see in the next segment when I actually show you how yellow it is, and then it will go on with a new the second part of the time-lapse painting process. So you almost saw me paint a full apple in this one, and now I will actually give up and start all over again. You might find it interesting, so stay tuned. Yay! I have been working on this apple for a while, and I went to vacation at my parents' house for 3.5 weeks, and I had a lot of color in it. It was quite yellow then, but I had some color in it. But in this time, it has turned into kind of well, let's see if we can focus. Well, it's even worse than this. It's kind of just turned into a rotten corpse in a way. You can see the difference between these 2 apples. It was more yellow-ish, this one. But what I'm going to do now, I'm going to give this up because this apple is deteriorating so fast now that it's only going to be yellow and reds. And it's not going to be any color contrast. And I'm just starting to really hate it. So what I'm going to do is going to remove this and put this in, this one, and just sketch this instead. I'm going to lift it a little bit more that way. Okay. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to paint this one instead, and hopefully that will be better. So it's kind of a reboot, restart. So now you can also see how I just scrape this down and paint over it. And yeah, because there's a lot of textures and stuff in it, brushwork, I can keep that into the next apple. So yeah, okay. The first thing I do is that I scraped away some paint, and then I just starting to. The good thing here is that I have the basis is underneath, so it just there's a lot of textures from all the other painting I did, and I can just basically paint over it with different colors and just shape it like I do now. And it was actually more easy than I thought. Then of course, as I went along, it became more and more difficult, because the first sketch that I did came out very nice. But as I say, you have to kill your darlings to get a better painter. You know, there has been times where I felt the sketches was way better than the finished result. And that also is with big paintings and stuff. But it is because it's kind of more interesting for the brain to put all of it together themselves than seeing something that is very clear and very constructive and very direct. But I mean, if you're going to stop every time you do something that the brain, basically like candy, it becomes like candy, you know, it's an instant gratification, but it's not really any real depth in it. And to get that, to get more of your own personality, more on your own subjective layers that comes from you, your subjective touches, like you see here, you have to go deeper. You just have to go deeper. And you have to basically kill your darlings over and over again, overpaint, adjust it, and go back and forth and back and forth. And there are times when you want to tear your hair out because you felt you had it, and then you just lose it again. As you can see, here I just start to add more and more colors. And one of the most difficult things is actually getting the you know, the light part and the background to melt together to get this round feeling. Almost you have to remove all the you basically have to remove okay, here I see I put the glaze on, I put the retouche vernis on, and I probably put the glaze on. Here you can see I put the glaze on, and that is the French ultramarine and alizarin, and then I scrape it away so you see the texture there, and then I start taking away some. You see I get a very nice texture. You can see all these processes you can see in the long video. That is the original file, so you might find it interesting. You can also go into the chapters and go back and forth and watch the different things I do, the ones you like most or learn the most from, because I tend to talk about everything in my painting processes, and it's very hard for me to stick on painting. I talk about life, love, inner thinking, everything. Anyway, as you can see, I put on shadows, I put on even more, and then now it's actually starting to get difficult, because now you get to that point where you have to, every single little thing you do changes everything. Sometimes you feel like you just lose the light, you lose, you know, you put on too much white and the light dies. Isn't that strange? That you put on too much light and light dies. It's basically where you would think that the more white you put on, the more light you would get, but it's not how it works. You actually have to center it. You have to create so many nuances, so many shadows, so many different tones that the spot where the most light is, the widest spots actually feels like light hitting the object. And that is basically the most difficult part, because it demands an enormous amount of focus. And as we know, our brains are not perfect. I'm also quite a neurotic when it comes to my own paintings. I never feel they are good enough, and they probably aren't, because there are people who are way better than me, both in history and living. As I say, I'm glad people like my paintings better than I do. Sometimes I feel I do something nice. I think actually this apple came out quite nice. It's one of the best apples I've painted. I don't know why, but it's kind of just something happened in it. Remember, this is also a Patreon giveaway. You can see me actually pulling a lottery over this painting. So if you go to Patreon and sign up for a $5 patronage, you can actually win one small painting like this for, every month. I'm a little bit behind now, but I will catch up. So no worries. If you become a patron, I will also personally help you with your painting skills. And if you go in for a $15 patronage, I will Skype with you or do Zoom calls or whatever, and engage with you on a personal level a few times when you should need it. I'm kind of a people person anyway. I like talking to people. But if you want me to teach you how to paint, you actually have to listen to what I have to say, because there are right and wrongs in painting, just as you know it. What you have to focus on is basically getting a better painter. You shouldn't focus on becoming an artist. So focus on being the best painter you can, and the art will come all by itself. Now you can see I just keep on piling on. You saw all the blue I put in there, and you know, blue, orange, green, all these are complementary colors. People ask me how I create the shadows, and the shadows are actually a mix between the color you use in the background and the main color in the object. So the brightest and the darkest is kind of a mix between those two. And you find the same thing happening in clouds, in nature, or whatever. If the cloud is kind of reddish or orange, yeah, for some reason it stopped. You have this blue shadow, and in clouds, you know, if every shadow is a mix between the colors that stands beside one another. And if you understand that, it's basically a secondary color circle. You have the first one, which is the primary colors, and you have a second one, which is the broken or the shadow colors. Goethe talks about this, Delacroix used it, and the Impressionists knew this very well. Now, I hope you enjoyed this little time lapse, and you go and see the full file. You find a link in the description, and after this video, it will pop up soon. And now there's a small segment where I actually show you the painting live, and I hope you enjoy, and also, of course, hope to see you in the next video. Give a thumbs up, leave a comment, and tell me what you think. And voila, here it is. Thanks for watching this time-lapse video. You can see the whole process, how I went through the yellow apple and changed it, my frustrations, everything with it. So yeah, you can also find a link to the full file in the description and after this video, or at the end of this video. So go check it out. You can probably learn something from it. I also talk about life, liberty and everything, painting, how to live life, and how to paint, of course, which you're probably here for in the first place. So with this, I rest my case, and remember, thumbs up, leave comment, put on notification bell, and see you in the next video. Yay, cool.